The discovery. Captain Vexthor had traveled the stars for 40 cycles. His species, the Arxilians, were known throughout the Confederation of United Worlds as master explorers. They had discovered 17 inhabited systems and brought 12 new species into the galactic community. Vexthor took pride in this work. He believed deeply in the mission of unity and peaceful cooperation that defined the Confederation. Today felt like any other mission. His ship, the Stellar Wanderer, drifted through the outer reaches of an unremarkable yellow star system. The scanners had picked up faint electromagnetic radiation 3 standard years ago. Radio waves, primitive transmissions, the telltale signs of early technological development. It was textbook stuff. A young species learning to reach beyond their world, completely unaware they were not alone in the universe. Vexthor stood on the bridge, his silver skin reflecting the soft blue lights of the control panels. His large black eyes studied the data streaming across the main display. The third planet from the star showed all the classic markers: liquid water, oxygen-rich atmosphere, complex biosignatures. A garden world teeming with life. His second officer, a young female named Thyra, worked at the navigation console. Her fingers moved gracefully over the controls. She had keen instincts, a rare gift among their people. Vexthor trusted her completely. "Captain," Thyra said, her voice carrying a note of curiosity, "I am detecting something unusual." Vexthor moved to her station. "What have you found?" "There is a structure in orbit around the third planet. It is large, much larger than expected for a species at this development stage." She adjusted the sensors, trying to get a clearer reading. "The energy output is significant. Perhaps a space station or orbital platform." Vexthor felt a small spark of interest. Space stations were uncommon for species this young, but not impossible. Some civilizations develop faster than others. "Run a detailed scan. Let us see what our new friends have built." The ship's advanced sensors reached across the void, gathering data at the quantum level. Information poured into the computers. Then the displays began showing numbers that made no sense. Thyra's hands froze above her console. Her skin paled from silver to almost white. "Captain, this cannot be correct. The structure is not a station. It is a vessel. A warship." "How large?" Vexthor asked, though part of him already feared the answer. 5,000 meters in length. Mass equivalent to a small moon. Hull composition includes materials our database cannot fully identify. Weapons signatures detected across multiple sections. Energy core output exceeds our own ship by a factor of 20. The bridge fell silent. Every member of the crew stopped working and turned to look at their captain. Vexthor felt his 3 hearts beating faster. In all his years of exploration he had never encountered anything like this. The species on that blue planet was supposed to be primitive. They were supposed to need guidance, protection, introduction to the greater galactic family. They were not supposed to have weapons that dwarfed anything in the Confederation fleet. "Show me," Vexthor said quietly. The main view screen shifted. There, hanging in the black of space like a predator waiting in darkness, was the human warship. It was angular and brutal in design, covered in armor plating that seemed to absorb light. Weapon ports dotted its surface like the scales of some ancient beast. Massive engines glowed with contained power. Everything about the vessel spoke of one purpose: war. "It is moving," Thyra whispered. The great ship began to turn. Slowly, deliberately, it oriented itself toward the Stellar Wanderer. Vexthor felt a primal fear rise in his chest, something his species had not experienced in thousands of years. They were no longer the advanced explorers bringing light to primitive worlds. They were prey caught in the gaze of something far more dangerous. "Captain, we are being hailed," the communications officer announced. Vexthor straightened his posture. Whatever happened next would be recorded in history. He needed to represent the Confederation with dignity. "Open the channel." A face appeared on the screen. It was humanoid, similar enough to Arxilian features that Vexthor could read expressions. The human was female, with dark hair and eyes that held both intelligence and caution. She wore a uniform of deep blue with silver insignia. Behind her, Vexthor could see other humans working at stations filled with displays and controls. The technology looked sophisticated, purposeful, nothing primitive about it. "This is Commander Sarah Chin of the United Earth Defense Force vessel Prometheus," the human said. Her voice was calm and measured. "You have entered Earth's designated security zone. Please identify yourself and state your purpose." Vexthor found his voice. "I am Captain Vexthor of the Arxilian Stellar Wanderer, representing the Confederation of United Worlds. We detected your electromagnetic transmissions years ago. We came to establish first contact, to welcome your species to the galactic community. Commander Chen's expression did not change. We know. We detected your long-range sensor sweeps 16 years ago. We have been monitoring your approach ever since. 16 years. Vexthor's mind raced. They had known for 16 years that someone was watching them. And in that time they had built this monster of a ship. You knew we were coming? We knew someone was coming, Chen replied. We did not know if he would be friendly or hostile. Earth has learned to prepare for all possibilities. The Confederation seeks only peace, Vexthor said quickly. We offer knowledge, trade, protection, a place among the civilized species of the galaxy. Protection from what? Chen asked. The question was simple but loaded with meaning. Vexthor hesitated. The truth was complicated. The Confederation protected younger species from pirates, from resource exploitation, from the dangers of space they were not yet ready to face. But those protections came with rules, with oversight, with the understanding that the elder species knew best. Looking at the Prometheus, Vexthor realized these humans would not accept such terms. They had built this warship not because they were aggressive, but because they refused to be vulnerable. They had looked at the unknown and decided to meet it with strength. Commander Chen, Vexthor said carefully, I must report this encounter to the Confederation Council. They will want to establish formal diplomatic relations. May I tell them Earth is open to such contact? Chen nodded slowly. You may tell them we are willing to talk on equal terms. Earth does not seek conflict, but we will not accept subjugation. We are ready to be partners, not subjects. I understand, Vexthor said, though he was not sure the council would. Safe travels, Captain, Chen said. And know that we will be watching. The communication ended. Vexthor stood in silence, staring at the image of the Prometheus on his screen. The massive warship had not powered weapons, had not made threats, had not shown aggression. It simply existed, a statement of capability and will. Set course for home, Vexthor ordered. Maximum speed. The council needs to hear about this immediately. As the stellar wanderer turned and accelerated away from Earth, Vexthor took one last look at the blue planet. Somewhere down there, a young species had done something remarkable. They had reached for the stars, yes, but they had done so with eyes wide open. They had prepared for the reality that the universe might not welcome them with open arms. Vexthor had spent his life bringing primitive species into the Confederation, guiding them, teaching them, showing them the way. But these humans did not need guidance. They had found their own way, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Council's reaction. The journey back to the Confederation capital took 3 standard weeks. Vexthor spent every moment of that time reviewing the sensor data, analyzing every detail of the Prometheus, and preparing his report. He knew what he was about to tell the Council would shake the foundations of everything they believed about their place in the galaxy. The capital world of Centrum Prime was a marvel of galactic civilization. It orbited a binary star system, its surface covered in magnificent structures that represented the combined architectural genius of 20 different species. The Grand Assembly Hall stood at the heart of the capital, a towering structure made of crystalline materials that caught and reflected light in ways that seemed almost magical. Vexthor's ship docked at the diplomatic station. Within hours, he was summoned before the Council of Elder Species. He walked through corridors that had witnessed 10,000 years of history, past monuments to peace treaties and scientific breakthroughs. Today he would add something new to that history, though he was not certain it would be celebrated. The council chamber was circular and vast. 12 platforms ringed the room, each elevated to different heights based on the seniority and status of the species represented. At the highest point sat High Counselor Drenthus of the Corthan Collective, an ancient being whose species had helped found the Confederation 8,000 years ago. His crystalline body reflected the ambient light, creating rainbow patterns on the walls. Below him sat representatives from the other elder species, the massive Threxians, the ethereal Luminari, the calculating Mechanites, and others who had guided galactic civilization for millennia. All of them now turned their attention to Vexthor, who stood alone at the center of the chamber floor. Captain Vexthor, High Counselor Drenthus spoke, his voice resonating through the chamber like music. You have requested an emergency session. Your preliminary report mentions a species that possesses advanced military technology. Please elaborate. Vexthor activated the holographic projector. The image of the Prometheus materialized above him, rotating slowly so all could see its terrible magnificence. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the chamber. This is the human warship Prometheus, Vexthor began. It measures 5,000 meters in length. Its weapon systems include directed energy cannons, missile arrays, and defensive shields that our sensors could barely penetrate. The power core generates energy at levels we have never encountered outside of stellar phenomena. General Croth of the Threxian military stood abruptly. He was a towering figure, covered in natural armor plating that had evolved over millions of years. His species had been warriors long before they joined the Confederation. Impossible. No newly spacefaring species could construct such a vessel. Your sensors must have malfunctioned. I verified the data 17 times, Vexthor replied calmly. I have brought raw sensor logs, visual recordings, and communication transcripts. The vessel is real. More troubling is what the humans revealed during our conversation. They detected our survey scans 16 years ago and have been preparing for this encounter ever since. Silence fell over the chamber. The implications were staggering. A species that could detect Confederation scanning technology from light years away, that could build weapons of unprecedented power, that could prepare for first contact with such strategic foresight. This was not a primitive civilization stumbling into space. This was something else entirely. Counselor Meraxia of the Luminari spoke next. Her species were beings of pure energy, contained within crystalline matrices. They were philosophers and scientists, devoted to understanding the nature of consciousness and existence. Captain, did you assess the intentions of these humans? Are they hostile? Not hostile, Vexthor said carefully, but not submissive either. Their commander, Sarah Chin, stated clearly that Earth would accept partnership but not subjugation. They are willing to engage in diplomacy, but only on equal terms. Equal terms? General Croft laughed, a sound like grinding stone. They are a single-planet species that only recently achieved spaceflight. What makes them think they can negotiate as equals with a confederation of 43 member worlds? Vexthor gestured to the hologram of the Prometheus. That makes them think it, General. And they are correct. One of their warships could potentially challenge an entire battle group. They claim to have more vessels like this. Perhaps many more. High Counselor Drenthis raised a crystalline hand, and the chamber fell silent. Let us consider what we know. This species, these humans, developed on a world we classified as primitive. Yet they possess technology that rivals or exceeds our own in specific domains. They detected our presence years before we revealed ourselves. They built weapons to defend against threats they had never met. What does this tell us about them? Elder Scholar Typhon of the Mechanites processed the question through his quantum computational matrix. His species were cybernetic beings who had merged with artificial intelligence thousands of years ago. It suggests a species with high paranoia, exceptional pattern recognition, and remarkable technological adaptability. It also suggests they have experience with conflict. One does not build weapons of this magnitude without understanding war intimately. Precisely, Drenthis said. I recommend we access their historical broadcast. If they have been transmitting radio signals for decades, those signals will contain information about their society. The Council's research division worked quickly. Within hours, they had compiled a summary of human history based on intercepted transmissions. What they found disturbed them deeply. The humans had fought thousands of wars. Not border skirmishes or minor conflicts, but massive, brutal wars that consumed entire continents. They had developed weapons of terrifying efficiency, from simple projectiles to nuclear devices capable of destroying cities in moments. Their most recent global conflict had killed over 70 million of their own kind. And yet, they had survived, rebuilt, and continued advancing. They fight themselves, General Croth said, genuine confusion in his voice. Species at their development level should have achieved basic unity. Why do they continue internal conflict? Because they are still learning, said Counselor Erethus of the Daltharian Union. Her species were empaths who could sense emotional states across vast distances. I can feel echoes of their world even from here. They are a species of intense emotion, both creative and destructive. They love fiercely and hate fiercely. They build and destroy with equal passion. High Counselor Drenthis studied the data in silence. Finally he spoke. I have led this council for 400 cycles. I have welcomed 32 species into our confederation. Never have I encountered a situation like this. These humans are dangerous, yes, but danger can be channeled. They are innovative, which we need. They are prepared to defend themselves, which means they understand the value of security. You propose we invite them to join us? General Croth asked incredulously. I propose we treat them with respect, Drenthis replied. We could attempt to intimidate them, but looking at that warship, I suspect such efforts would be futile and possibly catastrophic. We could ignore them, but that merely delays the inevitable. Or we could extend an invitation to formal diplomatic talks, acknowledging their strength while offering the benefits of cooperation. The council debated for hours. Some argued for caution, others for preemptive measures, still others for immediate acceptance. Finally, a vote was called. The motion to invite humanity to formal diplomatic negotiations passed by a narrow margin. 3 months later, Commander Sarah Chin arrived at Centrum Prime. She came aboard a smaller vessel, though sensors detected the Prometheus holding position at the edge of the system, a silent reminder of Earth's capabilities. With her came a delegation of human diplomats, scientists, and military advisors. The formal reception was carefully orchestrated. The council offered respect but not deference, acknowledgement but not superiority. Chen and her team walked through the Grand Assembly Hall with calm confidence, neither intimidated by its grandeur nor dismissive of its significance. When Chen stood before the council, she did not speak of submission or gratitude. Instead, she spoke of mutual benefit, shared knowledge, and common challenges. She acknowledged humanity's violent past but emphasized their capacity for growth and cooperation. She offered Earth's resources and ingenuity in exchange for access to galactic knowledge and trade networks. "We know we are young compared to your civilizations," Chen said, her voice clear and steady. "We know we have much to learn. But we also know what we bring to this partnership. Humanity has survived and thrived by adapting to every challenge we have faced. We have looked at the impossible and found ways to make it possible. We have stared into darkness and chosen to light candles rather than curse the shadows." High Counselor Drenthis listened carefully. When Chin finished, he stood. "Commander Chin, the Confederation of United Worlds was built on principles of cooperation, mutual respect, and shared prosperity. We welcome species who bring strength and wisdom to our community. Earth has demonstrated both. We formally invite humanity to join the Confederation as full members, with all rights and responsibilities that entails." Chin nodded slowly. "We accept your invitation on the condition that Earth maintains sovereignty over our system and defensive forces. We will contribute to Confederation security and abide by agreed-upon laws, but we will not disarm, and we will not surrender our independence." There was tension in the chamber. Some council members clearly disliked these terms. But Drenthis simply smiled, an expression that looked strange on his crystalline features. "Those terms are acceptable. Welcome to the galactic community, Commander. Welcome to your equals." As the ceremony concluded and the formal treaties were signed, Vex Thor watched from the observer's gallery. He thought back to that moment when he first saw the Prometheus, when he realized the universe had surprised him in ways he never expected. Humanity had entered the galactic stage not as students seeking guidance, but as partners demanding respect. They had prepared for the worst and hoped for the best. They had built weapons powerful enough to destroy worlds, but they had chosen to seek peace. Vex Thor smiled. The galaxy had just become far more interesting. And perhaps far safer. Because now it had humans watching its borders, humans